Hey, what's up, guys? We're back for some more Resident Evil. This video, though, is a little different than the last one because this video is what I consider the start and the downfall of the Resident Evil series for a period of time. Because, like we discussed previously, the games were getting more action-oriented and were gearing not really less away from horror, but a little more towards action more and more and more. But the games we're talking about today takes a quick and fast ramp from action and horror being pretty level to horror and action, just ramping way the fuck up. But also, this is our second part in a full 3-part series for all of October and for Halloween for our little spooky video game month. So if you missed the first part, it'll be somewhere up here. Go watch that before you watch this one if you have not seen it yet. And the specific games we'll be talking about today are Resident Evil 4 through Resident Evil 6. So I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. Let's just hop right into Resident Evil 4. So Resident Evil 4 was released in 2005, which is 6 years after the release of Resident Evil 3. A very long gap for what the series had been going for up till now, with the 2 years between 1 and 2 and the 1 year between 2 and 3. The reason for that, though, is they went through a lot of other games before this one. What I mean by that is they could not make up their mind on what they wanted this game to be. They had at least like 3 or 4 prototypes for this game before coming to the actual idea that we have right now for Resident Evil 4. With all of that time, though, 6 years is a lot of time for video game hardware to develop, and develop it did. So between 3 and 4, there are a lot of changes. And the first one to go bye-bye is the fixed camera angle. The camera in this game is a over-the-shoulder type of style, and it follows the main protagonist, which is the GOAT, Leon himself, who is back for this game, which we will get to Leon soon, but back to the camera. With the new camera, that means everything is 3D and like fully rendered instead of the previous games where the characters and the enemies were 3D, but the background itself was 2D. Also, aiming with this is a lot different because now it's over the shoulder and it's not the tank controls, so you have a lot more control over the gun and where you can fire and hit the enemies. So it makes for easier kills or different things you can do by shooting different body parts. For instance, you can just like shoot them in the hand, make them drop their fucking weapon. Or you can shoot them in the leg and make them do the stanky leg. Also, to aim, you make a little red laser dot on the end of your gun, so you can actually see where you're aiming, since it's not like you're not the one looking down the scope and just over the shoulder. The graphics in this game are a huge jump and a lot better than the previous games with their polygons for the characters. Even though they focus on action a lot more in this game than the previous games, they still don't completely get rid of the horror. The horror is still here in this game and it's not completely gone. For example, you're walking up in the village and Leon just fucking breaks into this dude's house, which I understand him getting mad for this, but you walk in, you try to like talk to this dude, and he just turns around and just starts attacking you. It caught me off guard and scared me a little bit because I kind of didn't expect it, but I mean, I kind of should have, because Leon just invited himself in. Or getting to the village portion of it and getting chased around by Dr. Salvador at the beginning of the game, and a one-hit insta-kill by him is not fun at all and very nerve-wracking. Then in that same portion, you don't have nearly enough ammo to take care of all the villagers that are there. So it's trying to figure out how to deal with all the villagers and trying not to get fucking insta-killed by Dr. Salvador at the same time. You're just running around from house to house, barricading yourself in, trying to survive with nowhere feeling safe and not knowing if there will be more villagers around the corner or what's even going to happen. It's just really scary and a very iconic way to start the game. To make it even more iconic, everyone leaves when the church bell rings and Leon delivers his legendary line.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Personally, I love this game. It was my first Resident Evil I ever played, and it's also one of my favorite Resident Evils I ever played. And I am super excited for the remake of this game. It has that fantastic intro sequence with so many more iconic moments throughout the game that are just scattered through. Like, who can forget someone telling you to shoot the lake? For me, that was my older stepbrother telling me to shoot the lake. And you get fucking eaten by the giant fish monster. Or the merchant. I mean, this is just another lovable goat from this fucking game. He's amazing. Leon is also, in my opinion, the best main character, and he's a lot different from Resi 2 in this game. He's a lot more experienced now in this game than he was in the previous game in Resi 2, because in that game he was still a rookie cop. But here, he's a lot more of a badass. I mean, you can fucking roundhouse kick enemies and suplex them. It's just really wild and funny. And of course, fucking awesome. All the side characters we get are great and of course very lovable. And as much as I hate to admit it, Ashley is alright. She's whatever. Okay, we're gonna skip Ashley. Lewis is fucking awesome. He's great and was just such a badass, and almost just as much of a badass as Leon. And of course we have the wonderful Ada Wong making her return. She is lovely as ever. And the main villains themselves are pretty great, with fucking Sadler and Salazar are just insane and fucking creepy. And Mendez is actually pretty scary. And of course, the inventory system is probably my favorite in the whole series, with playing Tetris with all the items to make sure everything fit there, which is great. Story-wise though, this game is cheesy. Yes, it is. And it has some stereotypical characters, of course, but the campiness of this early 2000 action horror game is just what really makes the story fun and what it is. Part of the story, though, is what you are there for, and that is saving the president's daughter, Ashley. Getting back to her a little bit, she can be very annoying and stupid because she's controlled by AI and you have to protect her. And it's just not always the most fun thing in the world, so that's kind of a complaint of mine. Hopefully they fix her AI in the remake. They still do keep the tank controls for this game, which still shows this game's age, but I don't think it's a problem for this game. I think it just is another thing what makes this game what it is. What really shows this game's fucking age, though, are the QuickTime events. These are just a fucking relic from the mid 2000s and 2010s that I'm so glad fucking died. I mean, we had a whole boss fight that was just full of QuickTime events. I mean, literally the whole thing is QuickTime events. This game focuses more on action and less on horror. I mean, I think you could have assumed that with the amount of fucking roundhouse kicks, suplexes, and action QuickTime events we have scattered throughout the game. A great example of the game leaning more in its action is defending the cabin with Lewis. Is it scary? Yes, but I mean, you're just fucking blowing people away. There's no like trying to run away from them or trying to do anything from them. You're just basically fighting them and surviving off. And the whole last part on the island is way, way, way more action than horror. All around though, I love Resident Evil 4. It did so much right. They added some things that are kind of showing the game's age, and it is a lot more action oriented than any of the previous games. Let's move on to Resident Evil 5 now. So, this game is funny. This is the first game in the Resident Evil series that they've made that I would not consider survival horror. It's a lot more of a action horror game that focuses more on the action and less on the horror front. Like, even more than Resident Evil 4. So, obviously the thing that is the biggest change is how crazy action heavy this game is. You won't be left counting your bullets and scrounging around, trying to survive, wondering if the bullet you just shot is worth it or not, and if you can make up for that in the future. It is more of a spray and pray, a sort of sense of an Army of Two game or Gears of War game with some Resident Evil lore and some other stuff laid on top of it. For instance, you're encouraged to have firefights with these enemies since they also have guns. And we're also given more animations for melee attacks like in Resident Evil 4 when you're up close. Like now we have uppercuts and knife stabs included, so that's pretty cool. Nice guys. One thing they did though to try to make the game scary somewhat and still have a semblance of Resident Evil is you can't like move and shoot. You either have to stand still and shoot or move. So they really want to build attention with you on whether you want to run or sit and fire. Which, I mean, I guess it kind of built tension. But when you have an automatic rifle and you can just fucking mow enemies down, not really. You can also upgrade your gun through the inventory system. So we're just cutting the middleman straight out of it like the merchant, and you can just do it yourself. And the best part is, we get even more quick time events in this game than we did in Resi 4. Like when you get up close to an enemy and you press a certain button at the right time, you can get an attack to come out. And they are just littered throughout the game, and they are even more apparent in the actual boss fights themselves. They still have puzzles in this game, but they're greatly reduced in this game compared to the old games, which I think is just showing the departure from the Resident Evil series and the formula for it. The nice thing though is some of the boss fights, a few of them, are kind of resemblant of old Resi games, with the actual boss fights being puzzles themselves, which I actually did kind of enjoy. The biggest change though to Resident Evil 5 is the second character, which is Shiva. And she is an AI partner that is with you throughout the whole game, which sounds very familiar to Ashley from Resi 4, right? The difference though is Shiva can actually have weapons and fire them. And she has an inventory that you can put your stuff into her inventory to hold for you on the go. And, oh yeah, she can be played by another person, either split screen or online. Yeah, this game can be played with 2 people playing through the story, which is a massive fucking change. What this means though is this game could be easier than the previous games because you always have someone with you to help you fight. You have someone with you to stick stuff in their inventory, so if you need extra health items or extra ammo, stick it in their inventory. Hell, she can even heal you. And the biggest thing is it takes the horror aspect out of this game because you are never alone. You never feel that sense of dread being alone completely by yourself with no one to save you but yourself and the limited amount of bullets because, you know, like I said, you never have limited amounts of bullets and you always have someone with you. She's always there by your side. Then, story-wise, the second main villain of the game is just very bad and cheesy, and not like the good campy cheesy of the old Resident Evil games, but more of a moldy, disgusting cheesy. He is written very poorly, and his voice acting is very bad. The actual story itself, though, is not that bad, and the gameplay can be kind of enjoyable. And the main villain for this game is our old friend Albert Wesker. He's basically the arch nemesis of our main character of the game, which is Chris Redfield, the second goat to Leon himself. They are both very cool and dope, and we get some very iconic moments like this. I think this game, though, was meant to be played with someone else, and it really what makes this game shine, and a great way to have fun with it. Outside of that, though, I think this game is a very passable skip. I think that's enough of Resident Evil 5 that I can handle in one day, so let's move on to Resident Evil 6. I'm going to start off by saying this game can be a little confusing. So there are 4 different campaigns in this game. They got a little ambitious with this one, and I think it's pretty safe to say that this game is pretty long. So the 4 different main characters we get to play as for the game are Leon, Chris, Jake, and Ada Wong. So we know 3 of the characters, obviously Chris, Leon, and Ada, and Jake is a new character brought in for this game specifically. It honestly was a pretty cool idea to have 4 separate storylines going at once and all converging at one point. They honestly did have a cool idea for the game, and it was 4 different storylines obviously converging at one point at the end of the game, which is pretty cool, but I found it just a little bit confusing at the end. The story likes to do some hand-holding, and the game is just filled with action and explosions like we're playing fucking Call of Duty or like we're in a Michael Bay movie. There's just a lot going on is what I'm trying to say, and it really feels like they were going for quantity over quality in this game. I do think, though, all of the campaigns have good moments in them, even if they are few and far in between. They bring back an AI partner for the game for each of the campaigns except Ada, so you're almost never alone for 3 of the campaigns, and the one campaign you will be alone. But like Resi 5, you can play this game co-op, and if you're playing it co-op, then everybody, including Ada, can have a partner. A great way to play this game is with a friend, because then you guys can just laugh at the absurdity of the plot holes and just how crazy and action-packed this game is. They do add some new controls in though, which is like ducking behind cover and like being behind cover, which is just, another departure from the Resident Evil series and going more towards that action-focused goal. And the game is just riddled with QuickTime events and screams 2010. And the best part is, after most QuickTime events, it leads into a cutscene. And the problem with that is the cutscenes don't look that great. They just don't look good. One thing they do, though, to try and bring back some old players is having you fight these horrifying monsters in these dark locations. These things are just fucking disgusting, and they're honestly kind of scary. We also get to see zombies back as well, which is always dope. Love to see the zombies. With everything, though, it felt like the game was just trying to do too many things. Trying to please players from Resident Evil 4 and 5 that are more attuned to the action-oriented style of the game, while also trying to please the old players by giving you the nasty and disgusting monsters to fight that are sort of reminiscent of the old games. By doing that, though, it stretches the game too thin, and you know what they say, if you try to please everybody, you will probably end up pleasing nobody. And that, in my personal opinion, is what this game did. This game was a failure, though, and after this game, they had to do some serious rethinking for what the next game was going to be and how they were going to go about that. As much as it sounds like I hate this game, I don't. Personally, I don't like it. It's not my favorite Resident Evil game, and I would never come back to it. What I can appreciate, though, is just how crazy this game was. If you enjoy the Gears of War type of style, or like Call of Duty style with horror in it, then this might be your game, actually. With that being said, though, I do think that this is the worst Resident Evil game ever made, with Resident Evil 5 being the second worst game ever made. Alrighty, so we are done with Resident Evil 4, the good game, and Resident Evil 5 and 6, the bad games. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, we get to talk about the good games, like 7, the remake of 2, and a right game, the remake of 3, and another great game, Resident Evil 8. Also, that video will be released on Halloween Day, so be on the lookout for that, guys. It is just a special little treat in your Halloween basket for you guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go down, leave a like, and comment down below what is your least favorite Resident Evil game. I want to hear it. Let me know. Come on. Let me hear it. And of course, guys, don't forget to click subscribe, because if you don't, I am going to make you play Resident Evil 6 by yourself alone for, I don't know, however long all 4 of the campaigns are. And that doesn't sound really fun, does it? No. Also, click subscribe, because, we have the other video coming out. It's just super easy, guys. One big red button. But enough of that. I hope that you, yes, you right there, have a fan-fucking-tastic day. And of course, guys, like always, deuces.